want to start by saying that's one of the best introductions I think I've ever had. I was called a young man. I don't know if you caught that, but he actually said young man. So hadn't heard those words in a long time. I stand before you with the opportunity to speak once more. I do enjoy the opportunity. It's, as everyone who's done it knows, you end up spending a lot of time on it. The person that benefits the most, obviously, is you. And I appreciate you open your word with me tonight. For those of you who are visiting, first of all, thank you for being here, being a part of our Wednesday night services. Summertime's a little different here at Judson Road. We had some visitors a couple weeks ago, and it was just as we were finishing up VBS, and we had the stage all still set for a lot of Vacation Bible School stuff. And also in the summertime, we try to give the men of our congregation some opportunities. I'm still squeezing a few of you. I'm not going to mention Sam or Corey by name, but there's a few people that could really do a good job from here. And there happens to be 2 weeks left. And then we'll get going again. But I say that with a smile, and we do have some men that are very capable. We are a blessed congregation of people. We're blessed because of the preacher we have in Jeff. We're blessed because of the Bible class teachers we have back here. And we're blessed because of the men we have, the willing to serve and the things that they're willing to do. I have an unusual topic that I've chose to discuss with you tonight. The topic that I want to talk about tonight is perfection. What a topic. I told my mom the other day, I said, Mom, I think I want to speak about perfection. First thing she said was, nobody's perfect but Jesus. You know, it was the first thing she made sure I understood. And you know, hard to argue with that. But the definition of perfection, if you just looked it up, is the condition, the state, or the quality of being free from all flaws or defects. I chose that picture. I marvel at things that are so designed, so well, things that are just so perfect. One thought that I had in prepping myself for speaking to you about this is I'm the perfect person for this. What makes me the perfect person for this subject is my imperfections. There's a lot of them. Where I want to go, when we get to the end of this, I want to show you, my intention is to share with you the opportunity for perfection and for you and I to be a part of perfection. Not to say that we're perfect or we make perfect decisions and we never make any mistakes, obviously. Surely we understand that. But we can be a part of something that is perfect. And that's good. In fact, that's real good. I told you I was the perfect person to bring this topic up because of my imperfections. When I was a child, my mom told me, I'm picking on my mom tonight, and she's here, and I hate to kind of do this, and I would, you know, but sorry, Mom. But she told me, Tracy, you'd spill peanut butter. Now, have you ever tried spilling peanut butter? She told me I could spill peanut. I am the messy Marvin of the family. If anybody could step in it, it was always me. And I'm going to be hard on my mom again. You know who I got it from. I'm not going to mention my mom by name, but Mom. It came down that side of the family. And for some reason, my sons didn't really get that trait. I guess it's the Owens bloodline. I'm sure I'll hear about that later. But it did skip to my granddaughter. And I'm not going to mention Amira by name, but she can spill peanut butter. So we're the perfect, most complete people to speak on imperfections, but let's talk about perfect. You know, I mentioned this because I told you I'm the perfect person. I am reckless. I am careless sometimes. And if it's not in my wheelhouse, I don't really care. Whoops. I'm the guy who invented the phrase, measure once, cut twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. I'm that guy. I'm the guy that if the directions on the fertilizer says 1 bag is the amount of fertilizer you need for your yard, I'm the guy that thinks, well, if 1 bag's good, 2 bags got to be better. So I put 2, you know. That's my rationale sometimes. Many times I take the easy way out. If it's something I don't care about, I take the attitude of, that'll do. Are you a that'll do kind of person? You know, sometimes good is not good enough. Sometimes excellent is required. I pulled up a picture of something, I think it's a watch or a clock or something, just, you know, who has the ability to have that much attention to detail? Sometimes attention to details matter. Now, I got two things I'm going down two different roads here. The first part of this I want to talk to you about is the attention to detail. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you where I'm going with this. I want to talk about church a little bit. But nevertheless, let me back the train up just a small amount. Sometimes attention to details matters. It matters in your life. And it matters at church too. When I was growing up, my dad, he was a lot like me in so many ways. But my first exposure to something that had to be just right was his shop. Now, he didn't have an ornate shop. He had a little bigger than a closet, but that's where he kept his tools. And I remember he had a pegboard. And if you took something off the pegboard, you better get it back. And it better be in that spot. Don't make me go around finding my tools. Boy, I had that one happen to me a few times. And it didn't take me long. It goes right back there. You know, what was the first time you were exposed to something? It had to be exactly right. And that was one of my first life experiences of that. Our young kids, I think, don't understand this concept hardly at all. When will they be exposed to something almost right is wrong? Being close ain't good enough. You got to be right sometimes. You know, there's a lot of life examples. I've got a kind of an engineering example on the board. How about medicine? You know, Dr. Stefano's here. You know, I wonder if it really matters when he mixes the chemicals to, you know, give people pain medicine. You know, hey, this will do. You know, or let's just kind of, I think that's good enough. How many times in the world of medicine do they take the attitude of, that's good enough? Let's just do it this way. Let's take that shortcut. We'll save these people some money. How many times in the medical field or in the engineering field is it good to let's just take a shortcut? After all, it don't matter. Is it that really? Does it have to be exact? How about in construction? I told you I was the perfect person to build our jail for Vacation Bible School because we were building a jail that was after the earthquake. I can do a construction site that's what it's supposed to look like after it's already torn up. But ask me to build something and everything's just right, I'm not your guy. I admire Kenny Bryant. You know, Kenny's doing a lot of his house himself and the flooring and the ceiling. And, you know, Vanessa must crack a pretty good whip because he's working hard putting that house together. And, but I admire him to be able to do that. How many of you would be like me and say, I can't? The only thing I can do on that kind of stuff is write a check. And my check's not going to have a lot of zeros on it, so we're just going to do something else. How about in the area of sports? You know, I do live in that world. And you want to get under Tracey Blankenship's skin on a football field, you have your left foot back and your right foot's supposed to be back on this play. I don't want it to be almost. I don't want that'll do. I don't like the attitude of good is good enough. If better's possible, good ain't good enough. In the world I live in, I'm not building a house, but when I ask a football player to do something, when I expect the running back to run through B gap, I want him to run through B gap. I don't want him to bounce outside. I want him to do what I ask him to do. In sports, we ask them to do specific things. Our coaches go to coaches school. There's a coaches school coming up. And they want details. They want to learn, show me exactly how that's done. And you would be amazed at some of the attention to details that goes into sports, especially you non-sports people. You would be surprised. I promise you would. But let's talk about the Bible. We didn't really come to talk about personal things. We're here as students of the Bible. How about some Bible examples? How many examples of the Bible can you think of where the mistake was made in thinking that good was good enough? That we don't have to be accurate. It's okay. How about Cain and Abel? Wasn't Abel's sacrifice, for whatever reason, he was right? I'm not sure what exactly the details were, but he did what he was supposed to do, and Cain didn't. How about Nadab and Abihu? Leviticus Chapter 10 talks about Nadab and Abihu and the fire that they offered. I'm going to go there just a couple of verses. Leviticus Chapter 10, first couple of verses of Leviticus Chapter 10. It says, Then Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his censer and put fire in it, put incense on it, and offered profane fire before the Lord, when he had not commanded them. So fire went out from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord. And Moses said to Aaron, This is what the Lord spoke, saying, By those who come near me, I must be regarded as holy, and before all the people I must be glorified. So Aaron held his peace. Nadab and Abihu is a pretty good story about that's good enough. We can take a shortcut here. After all, it's a good fire. I mean, I'm sure there were positive attributes you could say about the fire they offered. I got my slides out of order from my notes, but how about the tabernacle? The tabernacle is talked about in Exodus chapter 25. I made a few notes about the tabernacle. How about the Ark of the Covenant? And where the gold was, where the mercy seat was, the rings, everything. You couldn't cut corners on things like that. And we've all heard the story of Uzzah, who stabled the ark, but he wasn't the guy that was supposed to do that. And God struck Uzzah dead. Wasn't Uzzah trying to do something good? Was Uzzah doing something wrong as far as a bad thing? I mean, by our standards, it was a good thing to stable the ark before it fell, but he was the wrong guy. He wasn't supposed to. How about at the tabernacle, they had the table of showbread. The dishes, the rings, and the pitchers and bowls were all to be of fine gold. How about the tabernacle and the size of the curtains? How about the veil that separated the holy place and the most holy place? How about the garments the priests wore? Have you read about those? The ephod and the breastplate. And the detail. The altar of incense. Attention to detail. If you read Exodus 25, 26, 27, 28, you will see immaculate, fine detail. To be exact. That's impressive to me. I mentioned one in Leviticus. How about the offering? You know, when they were the old Jewish law, in the Levitical law, whatever they sacrifice had to be perfect. And when anyone offers a sacrifice to the Lord from the herd or from the flock, it must be perfect. There shall be no blemishes in it. Now, you know kind of where I'm going with some of this. How about in our own worship? How about in the first century church or the church that we attend today? We're imperfect people. We know that. But do we try to set a standard? Does attention to details really matter? You know, one of my favorites, I got a bunch, I guess. The last book of the Old Testament, Malachi, the people were criticized harshly because of what they were offering as sacrifices. If I can get there. I want to read Malachi chapter 1, just a couple of verses, where it says, I'm going to pick it up at verse 6. Malachi chapter 1, verse 6. A son honors his father, and a servant his master. If then I am the father, where is my honor? And if I am a master, where is my reverence, says the Lord of hosts? To you priests who despise my name. Yet you say, in what way have we despised your name? You offered defiled food on my altar, but say, in what way have we defiled you? By saying that the table of the Lord is contemptible, and when you offer the blind as a sacrifice, is it not evil? And when you offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it then to your governor. And the criticism of what they were offering, what they were counting as their sacrifice, fell way short. How about the sacrifices we make? Do we sometimes fall way short in our own sacrifices? Matthew chapter 7, verse 21, where it says, not everyone that says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Not everyone that says, Lord, Lord. To me, that is a good way of saying, that'll do. Pardon this expression, ain't that good. You know, not everyone that says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Let me continue. I want to look at opportunities for perfection for us in the 21st century. Matthew chapter 5, where it says, therefore you shall be perfect. Well, let's kind of look at the context here, if I can. In verse 48, you shall be perfect. Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. Now we understand, and like my mom said, there's nobody been perfect but Jesus. How are we to be perfect? How does that work? And that's what kind of the nuts and bolts. You know, I want to talk part one, attention to detail, but number two, I want to talk to you about perfection and you complying with Matthew 5:48, where it says, you shall be perfect. Go to Romans chapter 10. Romans. Verse 14. Romans 10:14, it says, how then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him whom they've not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? For some reason, my notes say he has perfected those. Is it verse 15? Maybe it was 9, or maybe it was 11. No. Nevertheless, I have one more. Romans chapter 12 and verse 2, where it says, do not be conformed to the world. And then it finishes the verse, Romans chapter 12, verse 2, acceptable and perfect. The word perfect is mentioned a lot of times. I didn't pick them all. It's mentioned a lot of times with the opportunity for man to achieve some form of perfection. I think it's summed up well, though, in Ephesians chapter 4. Let's go there. Ephesians 4, verse 11. And he himself gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers for the equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ, till we all come to the unity of the faith and to the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. That, here's the part I want to emphasize, that we should no longer be children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the trickery of men and the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting, but speak the truth in love, may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ. Verse 15, acceptable and perfect is one translation there. The word perfect, when I think of the word perfect, I think of Jesus being perfect. John chapter 1 talks about the word and Jesus being synonymous and being of the same thing. Jesus no doubt was perfect, but Jesus is represented in the word. In Psalms chapter 19, we sing a song that goes along with this. You'll recognize it. At verse 7. Psalm 19, beginning at verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandments of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. I'm going to skip to verse 13 and 14. Keep back to your servants also from presumptuous sin. Let them not have dominion over me. Then I shall be blameless, and I shall be innocent of great transgressions. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Jesus is perfect. There's no doubt about it. When we sin, we're definitely not perfect. What I was looking for earlier, for the equipping of the saints, for the edifying of the body of Christ, to a perfect man, to measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, that perfect man, that's what is being discussed and set up as a goal. James chapter 1, it says, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete and lacking nothing. Now, I think this is where we're gaining on the idea of perfection, that you may be perfect, but you're complete. You lack nothing. And that's the nuts and bolts of our conversation tonight. This is a definition that I want to use for perfection. It's a good definition. Perfection, a state of completeness or absolute wholeness, freedom from fault, freedom from defect, and freedom from shortcomings. That's a good definition. That's the type of perfection I think is realistic, and that's the type of perfection that we want to, as the body of Christ, we want to hold on to that. That's perfection. And that's the role we can play. And that is where we can be. Yes, we can't make perfect decisions. We will make errors. I mentioned earlier, my granddaughter and I, we're kind of the spillers of the family. We're eating Mexican food a while ago. I dripped it on my shirt. I thought that's the perfect example of me tonight. As I present this to you, we are imperfect, but we can be a part of perfection, and that is huge. That's a big deal. And I close with where we started. Whoops, wrong way. Matthew 5. Therefore, you shall be perfect. Even the church, we are made up of people. We are imperfect. We have elders, we have deacons, we have Bible class teachers. We don't say and do perfect. There are mistakes made from time to time because we are human. But we are part of something that's been established by a perfect God, a Father, a perfect Son, the perfect sacrifice, and the perfect Word. And by the definition of us being complete and whole and in need of nothing, we can be a part of perfection. Now, I wanted to talk on those two parts of being perfect tonight. If you're in this audience and anything I have said would be an encouragement to you to walk down that aisle, and we could help complete your journey as you put on Christ, the water's prepared, we could baptize you tonight. I always joke when they walk out of the baptistry in the back, and I tell them, you'll never be more pure and clean than you are right now. Even when the water was dirty. We cleaned it the other day, by the way. But there's nothing like it. That can be you. Before tomorrow dawns, you can be a part of something complete and something perfect. Or maybe you've committed sin. Maybe there's error in your life and you got to fix it. Your conscience will not let you go any further. And you need help in doing so. Or maybe it's something public and you just need to get out in front of something. We would love to help you with whatever need that you might have while we stand and sing the song that's been selected.